Hello, everyone. This is Alexander Horat with the California Freedom Alliance, and today we're having a very special guest on the show, and his name is Patrick Holland. He's actually the reason why I started the Tuolumne County California Freedom Alliance over here, because I saw some of his great work being done in Missouri, and so we're just having him on the show today. Hello, Patrick. Thanks for coming on.
Alex, thank you so much for having me on. It's great to be here again. It's been a while since we've done a video together.
Oh yeah, but it's good that we're doing one today. So yeah, I just would like to ask you a little bit about your journey, how you made your club, how it basically went from one small county in Missouri, making itself a Second Amendment sanctuary, to now the entire state becoming a Second Amendment sanctuary. Just basically things that we can do on the local level, like you did. So if you'd like to tell the audience a little bit about your journey and what you've been doing.
Sure. And actually, it didn't quite happen like that. But what happened was, for those in your audience who aren't familiar with the Second Amendment Preservation Act, this is basically a law now in the state of Missouri where we no longer enforce federal gun laws. We're the only state in the union that actually doesn't do it, and we don't work with the ATF on federal gun laws. So this journey was started for the state of Missouri 9 years ago. And it took a long time to get it done. And then the part that I played was coming in about 3 years into, not 3 years into it, 5 years into it. So I was involved with it for the last 3 years. And that was raising a grassroots army to support the bill and to raise awareness of the bill, because the mainstream media totally blocked us. There was absolutely no information from mainstream media on this going on in our state. It wasn't talked about. So people generally didn't know what was going on with it. The newspapers didn't carry it. The news stations on television wouldn't carry it. So what it took, and by the way, it had a start already, but what it took was basically a social media presence to inform people in the state of Missouri, because the media had pretty much censored us out. Let's call it that, censorship. So at any rate, during the time that we were trying to get SEPA done, I believe it was in 2020, we had 3 counties in Missouri declare themselves Second Amendment sanctuary counties. And so they were already doing, basically what the state was trying to do. And they figured, well, if we can't get it done at the state level, we'll do it at the county level. And they did. And so they're officially, or at least they call themselves Second Amendment sanctuaries. However, since we do have what's called supremacy clause in the state of Missouri, technically they can't do that. They couldn't really do it. So it's more of a feel-good thing. But at the same time, it was extremely powerful and potent at the same time. They got coverage. We didn't. Not on the state level. We didn't get coverage, but the counties did. So that it showed us how powerful it was when a county went ahead and did it. So raising awareness of this, of the Second Amendment Preservation Act. So, and it wasn't like I tried to start an organization. It was just raising grassroots, to actually start calling representatives and senators, emailing them and visiting them in Jeff City to let them know that they wanted the Second Amendment Preservation Act in our state. And once we got it accomplished, the guy that got me into SEPA, his name was Jim Wendell. He and I decided to actually start this organization together, which has gone through a name change. Unfortunately, that's another great story about how I was sued by someone associated with Senator Roy Blunt, and that's a U.S. senator. He's a senator from Missouri. I'll tell that story another time. So we started out as the Missouri Liberty Alliance. Well, there was an organization called Liberty Alliance USA that was actually, they started in Missouri. So they felt that our names were too similar. And so they sued us to change the name, and also were suing us for any funds that we had gotten in donations. They said if people gave you donations, they probably assumed it was us, and therefore we should have them. Well, we've had 0 donations. They pretty much lost interest in us when they found out that we hadn't collected any donations. I was able to prove that. And so I changed the name, but I never heard back from them on that. So they never contacted me again. And we're talking about, this was an attorney down in Texas that was doing the work.
Yeah.
So Yeah. So basically, we just continued on with other things having to do with liberty and freedom in the state of Missouri. And we have, we helped to get SEPA done. And for any one person to say they got SEPA done, because it is enormous, it's historic. No other state has done what we've done. The ATF doesn't work with law enforcement here on federal charge codes. I mean, this is enormously important, and other states have tried to do it, but all of them have dropped the enforcement mechanism. It's what we refer to as the teeth in their SEPA bill. The teeth in Missouri's SEPA bill is that if local law enforcement, be it a police officer, a sheriff's deputy, or even an officer of the court, try to enforce federal gun law in the state of Missouri, they get fined $50,000. And the legislation that we call SEPA allows them to collect it pretty darn quick. They cannot get put at the back of the line for the court system. In fact, they get kind of shoved to the front of the line.
Okay.
So we have an enforcement mechanism here to make sure that it works well for us. And so far, it's been working great. We've had it as a law now for well over a year. And so at any rate, we've had absolutely no issues with it. It's doing a great job. And then, so this year in 2022, we weren't able to get any legislation successfully pushed through the state of Missouri because of one man, Dean Plocker. And so we're exposing corruption in the state of Missouri, but we did shut down a bill that they were hell bent on getting through. And this had to do with basically invalidating our ballot initiative process in the state of Missouri, which takes away they would have basically taken away people's ability to get around the General Assembly to get a good law done in the state of Missouri. So we're heavily involved in the legislative side. We don't get involved in elections, although we all have personal opinions on elections and what we'd like to see, but our organization does not dabble in elections. It would be wonderful if we had people in our organization run for office, but so far that has not officially happened, except for one. Technically, one is actually running right now. But so that's what we do. We watchdog our government. We're calling out corruption, and we're pushing forth good legislation. And we have some major plans for next year, for 2023, which starts in January.
Wow, well, I think that's a really good thing, and it's pretty amazing how one person like you, Patrick, was able to accomplish quite a bit, make an organization, and basically get involved in trying to stop all these draconian federal gun laws in your home state of Missouri. And one thing that I wanted to ask you about is how can we get people involved? Because we have a good core group. I think we have like 380 people on Facebook. And there's some people who come and go, and then they come again to our meetings and stuff like that. But what we've really been trying to do is expose the corruption and expose bad things that are going on in our county, first and foremost. We've been getting about 20 people to come to each meeting, which is pretty good, but the margin though of everybody who's in our club is fairly small though. So how do you think we can get people more involved in exposing the corruption in our county and getting involved in local politics? Because I kind of feel that nullification movement, we can start it in our county since we don't really have that much voice in our state government yet. So I just want to get your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. First of all, I'll make a clarification real quick. I don't take credit for anything. It's I'm one of many, and it's the people that make phone calls and do the emails and visit Jefferson City. In other words, our state capital, and talk to the state representatives and state senators. Those are the real heroes in our organization. I'm kind of like the public face of it. But at the same time, I'm only one man. There's a lot of people in the organization. So to answer your other question here, and I've had a lot of thoughts about this, because how were we able to do the things that we've done? Well, we started in a good place though. And that is a real sexy bill called SEPA, the Second Amendment Preservation Act. It was very attractive to people who wanted to keep their freedoms. So if basically if you start somewhere like there, people are much more likely, in my opinion, to actually do something to keep their gun rights. They're much more, involved, I think, when it comes to, shutting down the ability of government to take their guns, whether it be red flag laws or bannings or, what have you. So that is pretty much where we started. And so in 2022, we didn't have anything nearly as sexy going on. and I use the word sexy loosely because actually it has a specific connotation, something really appealing and attractive that actually will get people off their couch and active with their government. And if you have the right legislation going on, I mean, you can actually get people, involved very quickly. So I would say for an upstart organization such as yours, a real good idea is to get a Second Amendment sanctuary county set up. I think that would be something that would get a lot of interest very quickly. So other than that, I guess people have said before that I'm somewhat motivational, that just, talking to me once in a while helps them. But otherwise, that's about it. But you got to have bills that, people do care about and are willing to get off the couch and actually do something.
So do you think,
Sometimes it's hard to get. Go
do you,
ahead.
do you think we should try contacting state assemblymen and state senators, like having people from our group call them? Do you think that could have any effect if we have, say, 20 people from our group call a specific state senator, or do you think they wouldn't really care? Since California state senators and representatives represent a lot more people than Missouri ones do, or do you think it would have some sort of effect, or what's your thought on that?
That's an excellent question too. You'll be the best one to know. You would have to try it first. We're a red state. California's a blue state. So when it comes to freedom and liberty, we're much more likely to get something done in a red state than you can in a blue state. However, I will tell you something that seems to be synonymous. No matter what state you're in the United States of America, there is something peculiar, something that's very strange that seems to be linking all of us, and that's the lack of activity on politics on the state level. The lack of activity from the general populace to get involved, because they're all thinking and looking at federal politics where you can't get anything done. So they watch the federal politics on television, on whatever platform, whatever, and they complain about that. And they complain about our country's going to hell. Well, they don't, many people don't understand that the country could not go to hell if our states weren't in such bad shape.
And
So
even
you got to clean up your own back. Yeah, even the county.
Yeah.
That's correct. I'll give you that. And if we clean up our own backyards, the states will be in a much better position to go and clean up the federal government. And that's the fundamental basis of our organization, the Missouri Freedom Initiative. We are concentrating on the state of Missouri. Now, we do collaborate with some other organizations in other states, for sure, but not on their legislation. It's basically guidance. So we'll, just taking our experiences and letting them know what worked. So let me tell you what's synonymous in between the states. 12 phone calls to one representative in the state of California is a lot of phone calls on one issue. That's a lot. They would consider that being swamped with phone calls on one issue. So let's say that there's an issue in the state of California. We could make up anything we want. Let's say, you guys are voting on whether or not to put in a desalination plant in Los Angeles. Okay, let's just say that.
Okay.
If 12 phone calls went into a single representative on that issue saying, get that done, we definitely need that in the state of California, especially Southern California, then they'd be much more likely to do it. Now, that's true in Missouri. I'm not sure that's true in the state of California, but 12 phone calls to a representative and roughly the same amount to a senator is usually enough for them to think that that's what everyone in their district thinks, because they get so few phone calls from citizens. So few. People don't even think of their state. They don't think of their state Senate, their state representation, the state house. It's just off their radar. Most people don't even know the name of their state representative or their state senator.
And that can be used for effect for our county supervisors too, and everybody.
Sure.
So that seems like, actually, I haven't really thought of that before, or just haven't acted on it. So maybe when we have our club meetings, we could have everybody be calling people, like have a certain person that we're all going to call for an issue. Do you think that would be a good thing to have as part of our club?
I think that's a good thing to test. Yeah. Absolutely. And then for everyone to come back at the next meeting and report, what that representative said, or what that senator said, whoever it is you decide to contact. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because we've been calling, but we haven't really done anything quite like that. So I think that would probably be something good to, because
Mhm.
we're having some bad things happening in our county. They're trying to pass something called a climate action plan, which will be banning agriculture. They want to
Of
not
course.
banning agriculture, reducing agriculture, reduce water
I
consumption.
get it.
So it's a really bad idea. What do you think of also like using the court system? Do you think that's another good avenue in some of
We
these?
don't we don't get involved in the court side of things. I mean, we're not attorneys. We're just smart people that read our Constitution and read the federal Constitution. We know the laws, and that's what we do. Is we work on the legislative side where the laws are made. And what we do is our intention is to promote really good, freedom-based, liberty-based legislation in our state that encourage or enhance our freedoms or give us back our freedoms from something they've done before. Or we block the really bad stuff that they're trying to get through. So
Yeah.
that's the fundamental basis of our organization. But once you get, and it sounds boring and dry, but I'll tell you what, once you start getting into the stuff we're working with, it actually gets pretty interesting pretty quick. Like,
Yeah.
for instance, it is our intention to turn silver and gold into money, transactable money in the state of Missouri in 2023. That's the bill we'll be pushing. In fact, I've written the outline for it, and I'm working with the Mises Institute to actually get that turned into an actual bill for the state of Missouri. I've already got a senator who's going to promote the bill. He's not only he's going to sponsor it and promote it, and then of course grassroots all over the state of Missouri will be all over it too. And so that's and we have teeth in that bill because we're going to force the state of Missouri to save at least 20% of state reserves in the form of gold and silver, physical gold and silver, not paper.
Yeah.
And so that one's going to get attention. And in fact, the Libertarian Party nationwide is very interested in what we're doing here in Missouri, and they're going to probably copy our bill, in many other states.
Oh, well, that's good. Like, I think that really is where this comes down to is getting people off their couches and doing stuff.
Yeah.
Because, like, how many people? Like you said, you only had like 12 people making phone calls to each state senator, but that made a huge difference, though. Just 12
No,
people.
we have more than that. It's just that's the average. Once 12 phone calls are made on an issue with a certain opinion, that then becomes their opinion.
That makes
So,
sense.
yep.
Yeah. I
So
think
in many cases, we've done 75, 80 calls into a single senator when we needed to. So, I mean, we go way beyond the 12.
yeah.
It just depends. And by the way, we don't do this for nefarious purposes. This is all in line with the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Missouri Constitution. We're just trying to keep our politicians honest here. And we stick with the Constitution no matter what. And the Missouri Constitution is a big one. It's a big we have I think the biggest Constitution in the United States. It's huge, and so there's a lot to go through. But at the same time, we also are one of the states with this. We have a lot of freedom here. We have higher taxes, I think, than many free states. New Hampshire, the Free State Project, as an example. I'm not going to diss them. And that's because I respect what they're trying to accomplish. I wouldn't have done it the way they're doing it, though. We're doing it different in Missouri. We're enhancing our freedoms first. And then once we get those freedoms, then we'll start lowering taxes. They started with taxes first. And that brought in all the socialists from New York that wanted low taxes, but draconian laws. So now there's the Granite State Project working against the Free State Project. We don't want that going on here. So we're enhancing our freedoms first, where, the socialists don't care about the freedoms. So we're doing that first. And then basically then we'll start working on lowering taxes. So that's what we're doing in the state of Missouri with our organization. And our organization doesn't represent everybody in the state of Missouri. But the beautiful thing about it is that liberty-minded folks are all over the place in Missouri. We don't have to import them like New Hampshire does.
So how do we help with like education? Because I think education is key. Like, how can we some avenues for maybe some of our people to reach more people as well?
That's a perfect question. It drives right into what I wanted to talk about a little bit tonight, and that's censorship. Education is getting very, very difficult to achieve right now on social media, particularly, and I hate to say it, and I'm going to, once again, YouTube is horrible, and I've got to move off of it too.
Yeah.
But we all need to get off of YouTube. The censorship, and Facebook and YouTube are two of the absolute worst. In fact, if you had a gradient scale for censorship, draconian censorship, at the very, very top of the scale, I think, in my opinion, would be Facebook, and right behind it is YouTube. So we can't think of these things as education platforms anymore, but there's a lot of folks on them. Now, what I've been hearing very recently in the last week is that YouTube is beginning to die. The censorship and basically what they've done with the ad revenues is chasing people away from using the YouTube platform. Facebook is dying too, and that's been happening for a while. The Facebook dying off has been happening for about 3 years.
Yeah.
YouTube is a little more recent. So I could go through, demographics and analytics and all that fun technical stuff with you, but basically what it comes down to is using the right platform to help educate people, but you got to get an audience on that platform. And right now it seems like Rumble is really, really, the place to be right now, and TikTok. Those are the two places to be. And TikTok is owned by China. I'm not an idiot. I know they're owned by China. And so at what point is TikTok going to be censored? Rumble went public, which means they're going to have shareholders. At what point will the shareholders decide, well, we got to start censoring people?
Right.
I suspect that because YouTube is owned by Google and Google is owned by Alphabet, and I talk about this very freely on YouTube, and they've never censored me on this. Alphabet Inc. is a CIA front company, and you can look this up. You can Google it. Google it was their very first company of Alphabet Inc. And the two guys that started Google were recruited by the CIA out of college, and they had CIA seed money to start their operation. When they bought YouTube, YouTube was its own company. I'm trying to remember the year. It might have been 2010 when Google bought YouTube. That brought YouTube into the CIA family, CIA front company family. So CIA is synonymous with the federal government, at least for the most part. I mean, the State Department is the tie that binds them. But the censorship is huge. And frankly, there's no one in the government that's doing anything about the censorship problem that we have right now. Now, I realize there's a difference between a publisher and a platform. I get that. But the fact of the matter is, the stuff they're censoring on YouTube has nothing to do with that anymore. This is about fronting a narrative, to hold that narrative as the truth. And even though it's not the truth, it can be proven it's not the truth. But anytime you put up a video proving it, it gets censored. It gets taken down from YouTube. You get a strike on your channel. Same thing with Facebook. Anytime they censor something on Facebook and they say, well, this is misinformation, and you can't even respond to it.
Right.
You can't even do anything about it.
Yeah.
You simply have to deal with the fact that you're suddenly rate limited on Facebook, and they're not letting you reach as many people. Now, the Missouri Freedom Initiative and the California Freedom Alliance, we have to be on free platforms. We do not jive with censorship. We can't coexist with what we're trying to do. What are we trying to do? We're exposing corruption in politics in our state, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, that's going to get censored. That's going to be censored because we're exposing the corrupt people that are a part of the WEF, for example. We're exposing the corrupt people that are part of the beer flu. We're exposing, and we had one of those in Missouri, by the way. And we also have one of those WEF crazy kooks here too. But also having to do with the serum. We're exposing that stuff, but we can't expose it on YouTube or Facebook because they say that's misinformation.
Sure.
In fact, I want to say one thing, and I'm going to say it as gingerly and gently as I can, because this is probably going to go on YouTube. And by the way, I'll be leaving YouTube pretty soon. I'll make a general announcement about it probably tomorrow night on my live stream, but we just can't live there anymore. I mean, we're getting strikes all the time. I'm tired of it. And we don't do anything wrong. We deal with legislators. We deal with legislation. I mean, we're not active shooters, or people saying, oh, geez, I'm going to go to the local school and go kill a bunch of kids for 2 months and then do it and then have my social shut down 2 hours after I'm already dead because I was shot by law enforcement. after I committed the act. We're working with legislators. We're working with legislation. We're apparently a pretty big threat because we're constantly censored, and I'm tired of it. So at any rate, and that's my point. And I'm sorry. And, I get, a little bit passionate about this, but we cannot exist on YouTube anymore. We're tired of it. We're tired of the censorship.
Yeah. How's your email mailing list doing? And is that pretty good avenue?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I've got to repair that. We got censored off of Outlook.com. We got shut down on Discord too. Once again, for those of you who are listening to this video and follow Alex, this is no joke. I am not kidding you. I'm not pulling your leg or anything. Literally, Outlook.com shut down our email address, our organizational email address. And I liked Outlook.com. There were reasons why I was there, but they suddenly shut me down. Incidentally, when they shut down our Discord server, the Missouri Freedom Initiative, the same day they shut down our Twitter account with absolutely no explanation, no email, no nothing. I had to go through this long process to get our Twitter account back up and running, but I didn't even try to get on Discord again because I knew that was coming on Discord. Discord there's a lot of Google interest in Discord. So it's not a real good place for freedom-based organizations that work with legislation and legislators to be.
It might almost be good just to send letters to like people like your members, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. And the email thing, the email thing will be repaired. I'm working on that. That's just been a bigger problem than I thought it would be, but I've got a solution for it. So the email list is fine. How many people are on the email list? I'm trying to remember exactly how many. And I think it's 500 and some odd, I think, right now on the email list.
Yeah.
So it's over 500. Gosh darn flies.
That's one thing, I was kind of just thinking now, like they don't really censor mail like in the post office, but they do online.
Yeah.
So kind of
yeah, but it takes a lot of time and money to be sending out 500 letters.
Yeah.
I don't have that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're real time. We operate in the light. We do not operate in the darkness.
Yeah.
Everything we do, we publicly state on our socials. So even the bad guys in Jefferson City, the bad politicians in Missouri, they see us coming a mile away because we don't operate in the darkness.
I think that's a good thing because that's more of a threat to them than somebody who's in the dark like they are.
Well, yeah, and then also too, I mean, we're very public about their corruption.
Yeah.
So we expose them just on our socials, on our website. I mean, we just do it. And, basically they don't want to talk to us. So, I mean, I'm telling you, when they do something corrupt, it needs to be exposed. And this is a lesson for everyone out there listening to this. You absolutely cannot let your politicians be corrupt. You cannot let a corrupt act go unanswered. This is how they fester. It's like black mold that's growing in your house, in between your drywall and your plywood, where your insulation is. If you let that black mold grow and fester, it will literally take over your house.
Yeah.
You have to attack it. You cannot, just like black mold, you can't leave it in the darkness. You absolutely can't. You have to, deal with it and deal with it quickly. And you have to expose it in order to get rid of it. And that's what it is with corruption in all states. And everyone watching this video today, I implore you to get involved in your state politics. You're going to find a lot of corruption that you didn't even know was there when you start getting involved. Politicians are going to hate it, but they're local. They're local politicians, and they don't have the resources of the federal government.
Yeah.
So it's not like they'll come after you. Go ahead.
Well, that's definitely true. And it's just, you're definitely right. We need to get more people actually worried about these things, because it seems like a lot of people are just worried about, mundane things or just general other things. Like they don't even look at politics at all. Or if they do look at politics, it's just, cheer squad for one candidate, like Biden, for instance. Like, oh, we love Biden, we love him, but they don't actually do the research into the person who they're following necessarily, and look at some corrupt things they've done. Because if they've done, a few corrupt things, not even just one corrupt thing, you kind of know where they stand. That's kind of my thought. So
that's key, because that's how the rhinos got in. People who just vote R. And the Democrats knew this, so they started funding people to call themselves Republican, but to go in and work. And by the way, we're not a right-left paradigm organization, but the Republican platform is still standing with small government, low taxes. And there's very few Republicans left that actually stand on that platform. My point is this: you can't just vote a D or an R. You must research your candidates. And sometimes you got to go Libertarian or Constitution Party. But research your candidates. So I just wanted, go ahead.
You're definitely right. Like, one way I gauge candidates is if they accept any money from, say, corporations. Are they getting money from Walmart?
That's a good one.
If someone gives me $5,000 for my campaign and they say, "Oh, I don't like a banking bill," for instance, let's just go there. Even though that's not illegal, that's actually not illegal, unfortunately, though it should be. I'm probably going to vote against the banking bill, or that might put a sway in my mind too. Like, even if I'm not necessarily corrupt, if I took that money, that might put a sway in my mind. So I just start agreeing with them since they gave me money subliminally, and that's something that I think needs to be watched out. Like, a lot of these people, when you start calling them out, may not even know that they're doing, bad things until you start telling them, because a lot of people seem to go with the flow. A lot of politicians seem to go with the flow. And sometimes even they don't do the research like they should, or a lot of times they don't. So I think that's one important thing to know. I was just wanting to share the Missouri Freedom Alliance, the YouTube channel. I know you're going to be
Freedom Initiative.
Freedom Initiative. That's right. And you're going to probably be moving to Rumble, right?
Yep, we'll be probably moving to. We already do have a Rumble channel. I've just not given it much attention because I just don't have a lot of time to deal with this. When we do live streams, I don't have to do anything. The live stream's over, and I don't have to, edit or anything like that. So, but yes, Rumble and TikTok is another one I'm looking at.
Well, that's great.
But we're also on Odyssey.
Yep, and then you're also on Facebook. You have a Facebook channel, so I think that's good for people who are on Facebook. They could join that, even though they are censoring Patrick and his organization, unfortunately.
Actually, they have to get, and I'm sorry, Alex, I got to correct you on this, because they have locked us down so hard on Facebook. You can't find us on Facebook without a direct invite. That's the only way in. So just put a comment down below and let us know if you want in the Facebook, because we're censored so badly there. People just can't freely come in anymore, unfortunately.
I think that's important to note. And then we're also the California Freedom Alliance. We're on Facebook. Be free to join that if you'd like. And then we also have our own YouTube channel, which I believe is censored as well. But then we do have our main web page where you can contact us and you can subscribe so you get emails. I'm going to bring up your MissouriFreedomInitiative.com. So
mofree.org.
mofree.org. .org, so people can see your site as well, Patrick, on .com website.
Yep, that's going to undergo a massive change in about a month, by the way. Just for those of you who are looking at it now, it'll look very different in about a month. And that's because we're going to start talking about legislation we're working on for 2023, and that's going to require a slight redesign of the site.
Okay, well, that's good. So I'm going to share the screen and show everybody the Missouri Freedom Initiative. So let the welfare of the people be the supreme law, end quote. So I would really encourage you all to get part of their email mailing list, because then you can receive updates on what Patrick is doing and his organization. And also, you can also check his website periodically, because the Mo Free Dispatch, there's a lot of really good video. Just Say No To, that's really good right there, but we can't say that because of censorship. So I really think that's a really good thing you're doing, Patrick, and you're really the one who gave me a lot of insight to make our club in California. So hopefully other people in other states can start doing the same. Is there anything else you'd like to say, Patrick, in this video? Or
I would, if you don't mind. Okay. And this is the important part. For those of you who like the idea of freedom, understand that freedom is not free, and it never has been free. You guys have to work for it. And I've got kids and I've got grandkids, and there is no way on earth I'm leaving this place worse than I found it. I'm going to go ahead and work for freedom, because I see our freedoms drying up right now and shriveling away under false claims of everything from, I can't say these things because YouTube will hit us, but let's just say things having to do with the weather, things having to do with viruses. Those are just a couple of them. Things having to do with terrorism. Every time something happens in those regards, they take away more of your freedoms, and you're not going to get them back. There is no intention to ever give them back. Guys, look what they did with healthcare, with Obamacare. They took away some of your freedoms with that too, believe it or not. I mean, you know, a lot of people are sleeping at the switch here. The great thing is the 10th Amendment allows us to actually take some of these freedoms back, because the government is, the federal government is taking your freedoms away under a false pretense. They do not have enumerated powers to take away these freedoms. They simply don't. The states can take them back anytime they want with the 10th Amendment. It's that simple, but it does take action on your part. Freedom is not free. You're going to have to pick up the phone and make a phone call. You have to get in front of the computer, send an email, and once in a while, when it really matters, you have to drive to your state capital and go talk to people. That has a very powerful impact. Nothing is more impactful than driving to, in your state, Sacramento, and meeting with representatives and senators in your General Assembly, or whatever it is they call it there.
Right.
Nothing. Yep. Nothing is more powerful. So this is how you maintain your freedom. You know, and unfortunately, if we don't get our freedoms back right now, the only options are on the table to get your freedoms back are really horrible, and we can't even talk about that on YouTube. That's we'll get censored.
That's definitely true, and I think we can definitely do this peacefully. I think we can change the system if people can start making phone calls. But I really appreciate you coming on the California Freedom Alliance, and I would just like to say thank you for everyone who's watching. Be free to email me at the California Freedom Alliance at gmail.com if you'd like to join our club. And thanks again, Patrick, and I hope everyone has a good rest of your day.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for having me on. It was a pleasure.
Well, thank you, Patrick. God bless.